Hey, we back. I'm here with more Not Bot, and we're going to be talking about tanks today. I'm going to do a little video on each different type of character, so I can go a little bit into detail, which ones are better, how their abilities work, and stuff like that. And then potentially we'll do the same on Overwatch. Someone was asking about that the other day, so we'll see. But for now, Notbot, I think it's a lot more objective, so we're going to start there, and we're going to talk about the characters. So the characters are here. Oh, leveled up on Tatsumaki. That's nice, isn't it? You've got your dojo. If you didn't notice, we have attackers on the left, healers in the middle, and tanks on the right. For these last two that I don't have yet, I'll probably dip into the support server to find their abilities and talk about them there. But for now, we have these ones, and I'm going to briefly be talking about the tanks. We're starting on the right today because, I don't know, that's just what I decided to do. Screw you, I guess. But yeah, so we have 5 tanks to talk about. I'm not going to be discussing shattered ones because, to be honest, I don't know anything about them anyway. And I think most people, by the time they get shattered, are probably going to know what's up. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the other 5. We'll start at the top. So we've got Aiden. Aiden, believe it or not, is probably one of the best tanks there is. Let's have a look at Aiden, shall we? Despite being common, he is actually really good. Actually, I've leveled him up. Well, you know what? We'll start down in the support server anyway, so we get the base stats, huh? If you weren't aware, there's an all characters channel on the support server that shows you, guess what? All of the characters. So we have Aiden here. Aiden starts off with 160 damage, 1,000 health points, and 35 armor. This is really good because 1,000 health points is a huge amount. I'm pretty sure it's the second highest amount of health points that a tank has. Charon, who is down here, has 1,300, so that's slightly higher, but he only has 15 armor, and Aiden has 35. So actually, in pure health and defense, Aiden is arguably the best already. It's just a bit of a toss-up between him and Charon, but the difference is the supers. So we have Smoke Barrier here. Allies take 40% less damage from normal attacks and applies confusion for the next 2 turns, which is 10% less normal attack and on all enemies. So this is a really good skill already, 40% less damage. Now, I don't actually think this is 40% less, 40% more defense. I think it's actually a separate thing, which makes it even better because it means skills like Volcano from Fulvia are not going to affect it. Go and check Fulvia if you care about that. But yeah, so Smoke Barrier is all really, really good. 40% less damage from normal attacks is great. The confusion is a little annoying because, you know, 10% less normal attack damage on all enemies is obviously a debuff, so that balances it out a little bit. But realistically, it's not enough. 40% less damage from normal attacks is huge, especially on all all allies, and it does apply for 2 turns as well, which is mad. The closest similarity to that is Yuval's skill, which we'll get to later, but that only applies to 1 turn. So yeah, Smoke Barrier is really good. And then we also have Spark, where he heals himself instantly by 20% of his max HP. And as you know, his max HP is pretty high. Base stat of 1,000. By the time you get up to, I don't know, level 20, 25, he's going to be like 3,000 and something probably, so 20% of that is like 600 HP, which is pretty good considering he's, you know, not a healer. I know that the Aidens that I'm going up against in manual battles are getting something like 800 or 900 HP when they use Spark. It's a problem, because this is probably about as much damage as an attacker at that level is going to be doing. So you're basically taking away a turn of attack off your tank, which is pretty good. So yeah, Aiden, really good tank. Like a robot, the common tank is the best. Well, we'll get to that. But anyway, we'll move on now to Ethan. Ethan, conversely, is garbage, let's just say that. So he has 200 damage, which is a little bit higher than Aiden's, but he has less health points, 750, and slightly less armor as well at 30, although 30 armor is still pretty good. So as tank things go, you want health points and armor, and that's a little bit less. However, his supers, really not great. We've got Mud Camouflage, which is actually pretty good, to be fair. Ethan camouflages himself with mud, and is therefore barely visible, which means he takes 85% less normal damage for 1 turn. This is really good, because 85% less normal damage is basically no normal damage. But of course it can be avoided by using other supers, because it only affects normal damage. And more importantly, it only lasts 1 turn, and it's not difficult to just not attack him for 1 turn when he's got Mud Camouflage up. Of course, if you use Attention and then Mud Camouflage, that's a lot better, because Attention lasts 2 turns, and then the enemy is forced to attack Ethan with his Mud Camouflage. But you can't chain that. You can't do Attention, Mud Camouflage, Attention, Mud Camouflage, and continue, because Mud Camouflage only lasts 1 turn. So for half of the time, you've just got a regular Attention, and Ethan is going to be taking some damage. So yeah, it's an okay skill. It's certainly worth having. But it's not as good as Yuval's equivalent, which again we'll get to later. Then we also have Feedback, which in my opinion is the worst skill in the game. I've talked about this with Pizu before, who pointed out that fusion and splitting is also garbage, but Feedback is undeniably a garbage skill. Ethan switches 50 damage with 100 health points. This is just rubbish, to be honest, because as a tank he wants health points, not damage anyway. So if you think about it, at level 1, this is going to be 2/15 of his total health, which is a weird fraction, but it's less than Aiden's Spark, let's just say that. But the thing is, because it's exactly 100 health, it doesn't scale. So when you get up to your 3000 health Ethan's, it's still just 100 health points, which is then like you're taking like 1000 damage per hit from an attacker, and then you're healing 100 health points. Like, that's doing nothing. And then if that wasn't bad enough, he loses 50 damage in order to get that, as if the skill needed balancing. This skill is basically do nothing, because the damage is probably better anyway. I mean, he is a tank, so it's health he wants, but if you're in a position where you need to be healing with him, you probably want to alternate healing and attacking or something, right? Because by that point you've probably run out of attentions. And so the minus 50 damage actually does make a difference. Ethan not having that much attack, this 50 damage is a higher proportion of his damage than 100 health is of his health. So yeah, it's a bit dumb. Feedback, garbage. Ethan, therefore, also pretty garbage. He doesn't have enough health, and Mud Camouflage is not enough to carry him, because it only lasts 1 turn. Moving on, we have Charon. Charon is arguably one of the best tanks, simply because he has the most health. 1,300 health points is huge. He doesn't have too much damage, and he doesn't have that much armor either, but health points is really important on a tank, obviously, and he does have the most health points. Considering his armor is lower and his skills are not quite as good as Aiden, I would say Aiden is probably better, but it's debatable. I know a lot of people use Charon. So what supers has he got? Well, he's got Headwind, which is actually not bad, reflects 25% of normal damage Charon takes for 2 turns, and that's a pretty cheap super as well. This is good actually because Headwind is calculated first, which means that you can really kill people off with this. If your opponents have low health and you use Headwind and Attention, you can start getting a lot of damage off on them. Obviously, Charon will take a lot of damage as well, but he has a lot of health to back it up, so it's alright. So this is not too bad of a skill, but 25% of normal damage is not that much. Suffice to say that using Headwind is going to do more damage to your opponent on average than attacking with Charon, in the cases where you're in a problem, you know. If you're taking a lot of damage on Charon, if you're using Attention, or he's maybe the only person left on your team, then Headwind will do more damage than attacking with him. So it's certainly worth using sometimes. Then Southwind equally is worth using sometimes. He heals himself for 5% of his current health the first turn, 10% second, and 3% in the third turn. So if he's at full health, then he'll heal 30% of his total health, which is actually better than Aiden's Spark. But realistically, he's not going to get all of that 30% because he's not going to be at full the whole time, or he wouldn't be healing. And also, if he hits max HP, then he doesn't get some of it either. So yeah, this isn't actually going to get 30%. In fact, it's probably not even going to get 20%. I would say that Spark is considerably better in terms of healing, not to mention the fact that actually he takes 3 turns to get that healing, whereas Aiden's Spark gets it instantly. So yeah, this is worth using for sure. Maybe at the start of a battle when you're using attention on the chair on, and you're getting the small amounts of damage and you can heal it back up again. It's quite nice. It's also pretty good for the boss battles because the boss battles last a lot longer. So that's kind of nice, but in general Southwind is kind of meh, same as Headwind. Both of these are worth using, but neither of them are carrying him. It's mostly just his sheer amount of HP. Then we go on to Yuval. Yuval here has not much damage, a reasonable amount of health points though, and a reasonable amount of armor. Not as much as Aiden, but more than Ethan, so there you go. Well, more health points than Ethan, more armor than Charon. I mean, you know, it's alright as a tank. But the skills are what you really want on Yuval. The skills are great. So Smokescreen, reduction of incoming damage by 50% by all allies for 1 turn. So this is very similar to Aiden's skill that I mentioned earlier. This reduces by 50% as opposed to 40%, so that makes it a little better. It is only for 1 turn, so that makes it a little worse, but it also doesn't have that debuff on the damage as well. So, you know, it's roughly equivalent to Aiden's one. Again, I don't think this is armor. I think this is just reduction of damage, so I don't think it's changed by Fulvia's Volcano. It just kind of happens, which is pretty epic. But then you also have Rage Protector. Rage Protector is overpowered, let's put it like that. Gives Yuval plus 2 armor for every missing 80 HP. This has already been nerfed. It used to be every 50 HP. But the issue with this is that it doesn't scale with level. So at level 1, you only have 850 health points. So even if you're at 1 health remaining, if you use this, you're going to gain 10 times of the 2 armor, which is 20 armor. You know, you've got 1 health point and you've got 20 armor. That doesn't help you, you know? So it's useless. But once you start leveling the Yuval up and they have more health to lose, then this starts getting better and better and better. Imagine if you had a level 60 Yuval, just suppose. You could lose like 1 attack worth of HP, because by the time you're level 60, you're probably taking thousands of damage every time you're attacked. You get attacked once, you use Rage Protector, and you suddenly get 100 armor. You're now invincible, right? And you've lost his 1 attack. Now the minimum for this is about level 26, I think. Because you need to lose a total of about 3,000 armor, 3,000 health, sorry. I think it's 3,040 health you lose. Then you can get up to 100 armor, given the 25 armor that you start with. But obviously, if you are only just like level 26 or something, then you're going to have to be at basically 0 health before you get your invincibility. So you want to be a bit higher level than that, probably in the low 30s before this actually starts doing the epic and cool stuff. And it takes a long time to grind a level that high, absolutely. But if you manage it, your Yuval is now invincible, so it's kind of worth it, you know? The other thing is that because this lasts 2 turns, you can chain it with attentions. You can just invincibility attention and then carry on like that, and that will work, and it's really good. So yeah, Yuval is a big grind if you do want to actually get that ability, but just think about the level 60 Yuval in your head and think how overpowered that's going to be if you can get it. So yeah, Yuval definitely would recommend using. finally, we have Sama here. Damage 150, health points 1100, and armor 20. So damage is about average for a tank. Health points is actually a little above Aiden, but it's less than Charon, so, you know, there you go. And armor is, well, it's reasonable. Then let's go on to the supers. So you've got Stealthy Healing. For 3 turns, absorbs 40% of all normal enemy heal and heals herself. This is kind of interesting one because it relies on the enemy having a healing character. If they do have a healing character and they are healing, then it's actually pretty good, because especially the high level heal characters are going to be healing a lot of damage, and of course you're taking away that healing from them as well, so that's kind of nice. But if the opponent doesn't have a healing character, then it's useless, you know. Now obviously in a manual battle you can decide whether to use the skill or not based on whether your opponent has a healing, so that makes it pretty good, but it means that if you're going up against teams without healers, then Sama just becomes worse, which is probably not what you want. Then we also have Nighty Night. Sama sleeps for the next turn, preventing her from doing anything. After that turn, she heals herself by 30% of her missing health. This is pretty bad. If you compare it to Aiden's one of 20%, it is a bit more, but it takes a whole extra turn to get it. It should be double that by that maths, and also you don't get it instantly, whereas you do with Aiden's. So even if it was double the 20% or 40%, I still think Aiden's skill would be better. And you have to consider as well at this point, Aiden is a common and Sama is a mythic, and so the skill really should be better than Aiden's. And yet you could buff this from 30% up to 40%. I would still prefer Aiden's one hugely. So that makes it kind of dumb. But yeah, whatever, I guess. It's just a tank that's all about healing. And I think that Aiden just does the job better anyway. He doesn't have much less health, and he does have a lot more armor. So I don't really see the point in using Sama. But I guess, you know, Stealthy Healing is not too bad a skill. So that's kind of nice. Anyway, I apparently got a bloop, but I'm now going to end this one here. We've gone through all the tanks. Well, like I said, I'm not talking about Shattered anyway. So, yep. I will go through the others in another video, but as you can see, this has gone on for quite a while already because I had things to say. So we'll leave the other ones for another video and split it up nicely. Anyway, bye!